I use SGP, but I would love to have a tutorial on Nina.
Um, Actually, right now I'm just setting something up. If I can explain what I'm doing as I'm going, if you're interested.
Okay, we're going. So we're now streaming. Yeah, I'd love to see some of what you're doing. I just updated yesterday. Nina had an auto update and it messed me all up, but I made it through it.
Nina's free, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievably well-written software.
Is it better than SGP?
I never use SGP, but the people that I know that have experience with both love Nina.
I should learn how to use Nina. I'm getting frustrated with SGP.
Nina's got some good plugins, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they have some great stuff.
It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, it's
And
really
it's open source, huh?
I believe so.
yeah. You mind if I share my screen?
Yeah, I think you should have permissions. Holler if you don't. I think we're all co-hosts at this point. There it goes.
You can see me?
And yeah, I see a Windows Titan computer background.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of folders on there.
Yep.
So this is Chile right now. I'm talking to an Eagle computer, and I'm running, well, this is running Nina. Let me show you.
You're running version 2.3. Okay.
This is the mount. Tells me where it's pointing. Actually, it's not tracking, of course, but this is kind of shows me where I'm looking right now. This is it's pointed to the home position. But we can take a look at that later. You'll see it's going to be pointing somewhere else. I've been having trouble, and I just discovered what was wrong. I've been getting killed with you know, the data's wasn't coming out, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was, and I just found out that I had something set incorrectly in Nina. The gains were off, so my calibration wasn't working, and I'm just scratching my head for days and days and days because everything was great and then everything wasn't. Anyway, I just switched over to NGC 1999, which is in the same field as LDN 1641. And to find that, I went to the framing tab. You can enter all kinds of information there, and it'll tell you what's visible from where you are, and it'll tell you how big it is, and so forth. Give you the coordinates. So anyway, I just typed in 1999. I loaded the image, and then down here, it automatically takes those coordinates and sends it over to the sequence. And this is really nice because Nina tells you exactly what's going on. I'll have visibility above 30 degrees all night long on this thing. And you can see where we are relative to astronomical dusk. We just passed nautical dusk. And in my program, when that happens, I cool the camera. I'll show you in the sequence the things that happen. So anyway, this thing is going to run until nautical dawn. This is kind of an interrupt. So no matter what's going on at nautical dawn, it's going to stop. One of the reasons you want to put that in there is because if it gets cloudy and the roof closes, you still want to shut things down when it's time to shut things down. So no matter what, it would go into its end sequence once you get there. Anyway, so it waits for nautical dusk, which is already there. It cools the camera. This camera, I can only get to -5 degrees. And it's maybe 30 degrees below ambient. And after I cool it, I'm waiting for astronomical dusk, which is what it's doing now. It tells me at the bottom here that I have 8 minutes and 48 seconds to go until that happens.
Oh, cool.
When it does, there's an add-on called pushover. So this thing, the telescope will send me a message. I'll get it on my phone. And I have a program to say that the safety condition is satisfied. That means the roof is open, and the sequence has begun. So all the initial stuff is done. Oh, just some other things while we're looking. There's some global triggers. So I do an autofocus after the HFR exceeds 8%. And there's some other things that I might normally have in there, like how many dithers I use and things like that. But I actually took that out and I put it in the individual photo commands.
You don't dither after each exposure?
Say that again?
You don't dither after each exposure?
Well, I do. Well, usually I do. Sometimes it's after each exposure, and maybe two, unless if I'm shooting like 30 or 60-second exposures, I might go like every 5 or so. But typically I'm shooting 300 seconds, and I'll dither after each one. Anyway, these blue lines are all the different targets that I actually are in the midst of gathering data on. And when I'm not collecting data, I just shut them off and it just blows right by them. I mean, this is the way I set it up. You can program this thing any which way you want, but this works well for me.
That's useful to see. I've been learning the Nina sequencer, and I've only ever done one target at a time. I didn't realize you could put in a bunch of targets and just pause each of one. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and some of these are old. Some of these I can't even see anymore. I should really take them off and put them back in when they're in season again.
Right.
But a lot of what I do is planetary nebula validation. So a lot of these things are just planetary nebulas that I shoot when I can. In fact, most of them are in that category. Anyway, yesterday I just finished. Actually, it wasn't yesterday, but yesterday my data was crap because of the problem I had with my camera, which I just figured out. But anyway, I was starting a new target today. I was looking at 1641 and 1999. 1641 is actually in the same field of view. 1999 was more interesting, so that's what I'm setting right now. So I'm gonna go over here and shut off 1641.
Where is that on the map on the sky?
1641.
Yeah.
Let's look.
Is it behind Cygnus?
That I don't know.
I think Cygnus is LDN 7000, right?
Yeah, these are the coordinates. It's the RA and DEC.
Well, that means nothing to me, but
Well, tell you, let's just for fun, let me turn the other one on. NGC 1999. You can go back to the wizard. Not the Flats wizard. 1999. Let's slew to 1999. How come it won't let me slew?
Dan, I have a bunch of questions for you, but I don't want to keep bombarding you.
No. It's yeah, I don't know why.
Both of these targets look really close to the Orion Nebula.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Um, I don't know why it's not letting me slew because I have an active sequence
Because
going.
it's running probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway, Lou, what were your questions?
Okay, so how do you deal with flats?
Um, well, when local to my scope, it's really easy. I have a flats panel. I just go out and I stick it on.
Yeah, but
Um,
in Chile, you can't do that.
yeah, so I use sky flats, and because you have a permanent setup, the flats will last quite a while, and I just use the flats until they don't work anymore. Uh,
Right.
and sometimes that'll be a month, sometimes it'll be a week, sometimes it's 6 months. It just depends. And the flats have been pretty good. One thing that's a pleasure is I don't have to worry about flats. I don't have to worry about polar alignment. I don't have to worry about balance. Um, you just go and you turn everything on and you find a target and you say, do it, and it does it. It's pretty common that I'll set a target at 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll just go turn everything on when it needs to. It'll start the sequence. It dumps all the data in I use Dropbox for that, and it transfers the data via Dropbox, and I get it in the morning and do whatever I need to do.
So you
Uh,
don't have a flat panel that somebody puts on there or that flips.
no, this scope, well, I guess you could do it, but it's big. It's a CDK 17. So, that's a big panel. I also have I have 2 refractors down there, a 6-inch, a 130, TAC POA 130, and an FSQ 85. I was taking sky flats with those as well, but now I'm putting flat panels on them. So one of those flip things. So I'll be able to take flats that way, but flats is an issue. I have a really strange camera. I made a mistake, I guess. I went for the big pixel so that my image scale was reasonable. But this particular camera has got some really oddball calibration requirements. So I actually calibrate manually. And I don't want to bore you with that, but it's a huge pain
You
in the
have to
neck.
calibrate the camera each time.
What?
You have to calibrate your camera each time.
No. I'm talking about the images. I have to go through a manual calibration. I can't run it through WBPP like a normal person would with that camera.
Oh.
I mean, after you set it up and get used to it, it's not so bad. And I'm getting decent pictures, so I can't complain. But the camera's a bit of a pain in the neck.
I
Anyway,
couldn't tell from your images though. You got fantastic pictures.
yeah, that's why I can't complain. I mean, sometimes I have some issues. I got to get rid of some artifacts that I wouldn't want to get rid of. But anyway, this thing in 10 seconds, it's going to do its thing. So let's take a look.
And what's the Bortle scale down there in Chile?
Bordeaux, I don't know, but the SQM is
It's going.
2021. It's pretty high. Right now, it just slewed. It's probably a Bordeaux 2.
Or SQM, it doesn't matter. I mean, either or.
Well, SQM varies all over the place. I actually,
Oh, it's plate solving.
yeah, it's plate solving. It takes 2 iterations typically to do that. And then it'll go right into an autofocus.
Right. So it's adjusting now. That's cool.
I'm not used to that southern hemisphere sky. And you have all those beautiful images from down there.
Wow, the pixels are big, but you still have 0.63 arc seconds per pixel.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a 9 micron pixel.
Right. It's a lot of focal length, right?
Yeah, it's almost 3 meters.
Yeah. Nice.
But anyway, what normal people do is they'll go and they'll get like a 3.76 pixel and they're dramatically oversampled. And it doesn't seem to matter. So if I had it to do again, that's probably what I would do. But yeah, this is it's a problem.
Right.
Well, not a problem. It's just a pain in the neck. Anyways,
Yeah.
going to autofocus. What was? Oh, you're talking about how dark it is. So let's see how dark it is tonight.
That's dark.
Hmm.
It's 21.07 right now.
Wow.
Nice.
That is pretty dark.
That's what, and actually, it's going to get darker because I start my sequence about 15 minutes before astronomical dusk. So it's not fully dark yet. But anyway, that's, well, but yeah, I mean, there's no moon out, so the seeing is typically pretty good down there.
And what's your elevation?
1705 meters.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty high. It's on a bit of a mountain.
What, like 3,000 feet or something?
45.
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, it'd be more than 45.
Alexa, how many feet?
You're a mile high.
1705 meters.
1,705 meters is equivalent to 1,705 feet.
She got it wrong.
What did she say?
Feet.
You're about a mile high. Almost.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, a little bit shy of that.
Nice.
I'm jealous, Stan.
Anyway, now you can see where it's pointing.
Oh yeah, Rigel. So it's over towards just
Yeah.
underneath the Orion Nebula.
Yep. Anyway, you can see the tracking. We're talking,
Whoa. Those really good numbers.
yeah. Typically I have wind problems. If the wind is blowing, it's, the RA is all over the place.
Can you go back to the map? I just want to see where you're oriented. So Defada, Saturn's below the horizon there. Deneb.
It's the green crosshairs there, I believe.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look at all the stars that we can see up here. The California Nebula is up that way, Pinwheel's that way. Blue Snowball.
Oh, so
You
you're
got a
using
pretty
a
good
Go ahead.
view there.
You're talking about the guiding. I assume you have, it looked like you had PhD too.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just started using an off-axis guider. We just started using that a little while ago. And it improved. It took me a little while to get it dialed in. The two were fighting each other, and I finally figured it out. But so just in the past couple of weeks, I'm using the off-axis guider.
Okay.
But right now, I mean, if it were cloudy, I mean, not cloudy, if it was windy, it wouldn't be able to keep up. But I mean, right now you can see the numbers are really good.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think I just lost. Yeah, I just lost the internet. Oh, there we go again. But yeah, see, that's pretty solid.
Definitely.
Man, you're not moving.
That's nothing.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's just noise. That's there. That's not any movement at all.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
with your off-axis guider, do you ever have a problem not finding a star to guide on?
I mean, when I'm on, again, I haven't used the off-axis guider on this thing. When I'm on my TOA 130 at home, I'm not using an off-axis guider, but I don't have any problem at all. Right, this is the only scope I have an off-axis guider on. But I haven't had a problem. But let's take a look and see what it can see. Doesn't show.
I was using one for a while.
See, this thing failed. It's not, right now, PhD isn't working.
Right.
Your ASCOM driver needs to get updated.
I don't know if it needs to get updated, but I've seen this failure before. I have to shut it off and start it again. So the tracking that you're seeing is just based on the pointing model. There's nothing to do with PhD2.
Wow.
So let me restart that and see what happens.
And welcome, Gary. Dan's given us an overview of some of his equipment down in Chile.
Thank
And,
you. Yeah, it's interesting.
Hi, Gary.
How you doing,
Hey,
Dan?
Gary.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
3-second guiding. Cool.
Oh, you're using the multi-star guiding.
Let me see. Again, I don't use this much, so let me see what's going on. Yeah, it's tracking now.
There it goes. Yep.
And I don't know why I get that error, but I gotta figure it out. Usually happens in the beginning. Once it's stable, it'll go the whole night.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't think it took a sub yet. This is probably the first one.
Hey, you're 3 minutes into your first one. There's a couple in the history there. Those might be from yesterday.
Well, and it could have been, yeah, this one, yeah, it's at 5:33. That one was from yesterday. And this one could have been, yeah, see, there's a 20-second one. So
Okay.
I don't know why, but my first sub was always screwed up, and I think it had something to do with the dither.
Mhm.
So I put in a 20-second sub before the sequence starts to resolve whatever that anomaly was, which I never figured out, but it goes away when I do a dither first, and again, I have no idea why it's doing it.
Right.
So you say this happens every time you start, or just today?
You mean the PhD problem?
Yeah.
Actually, yesterday it didn't happen, but again, I haven't been using this thing too long. And as luck would have it, up until today, I had 3 telescopes on the same mount. And I think I was at the hairy edge of the capacity of the mount, so I think I was having some problems. But the guy down there took the 2 refractors off, so he had to rebalance. And then just before this meeting, we finished a 50-point pointing model. Normally it would be a 200-point, but 50 should be adequate for the time being. So right now it's running off that 50-point model. So everything that I knew as of yesterday is wrong, because I have a new balance and everything is
Right.
starting from scratch. So I'm trying to see what's going on.
There's your sub.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the first sub.
Yay.
There's a satellite, unfortunately, through there, but
Eh,
you can
Sigma
get,
clip it.
yeah, that's never a problem.
Yeah.
you can get rid of it.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Anyway, so that looks like it's working okay. Um,
yeah, pinpoint stars.
yeah, the focus is pretty good. That's one other thing that Nina has that's really nice. It's got focus offsets
Mhm.
and based on filter.
Oh, wow.
So let me show you where that is.
So you don't have to refocus when you switch filters.
Um, yeah, you don't. Sometimes I will, but so there are all the offsets. And I set the loom for the when I'm focusing. So it'll automatically put the loom in, and these are the offsets, and it just takes care of itself, and you don't have to worry about it. I haven't run this for like forever to change the to redo the offsets. I don't know why they might change, but you can see they're all a little bit different. Some of them are pretty significantly different
Mhm.
on these offsets over here.
Nice.
I always get this this timeout thing, and
I get that too. You can set how long it is. It's like it defaults to like 5 seconds, 2 batches. Mine often does that too, I've noticed.
Yeah, no, I found out it's pretty common.
Okay.
Um, anyway, so you see this when becomes safe,
Right?
or when becomes unsafe. So there's an interrupt called a trigger. So if the roof were to close, this trigger activates. And these are the things that happen. It sends me a message that the roof closed, and it tells me what target I'm on. It'll stop guiding, and it'll just sit and wait until the roof opens again, if it ever opens. If it opens, it sends me a message. It'll slew and center and autofocus and start guiding again, and then go back to where it was. So you know that's pretty nice. And if the roof doesn't open for the balance of the night, the outer loop of the sequence will end at not nautical, maybe it is nautical. Yeah, nautical dawn. I used to have astronomical, and I stretched it a little bit, so sometimes I'll lose some subs at the very end, but it's easy to throw them away. Anyway, so this thing will activate if the roof happens not to open again.
So you can go to sleep confident that nothing's gonna happen to your,
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I can't tell you how great Nina is. It's just like unbelievable. So this is the stuff it goes through before it starts a sequence. You can see this is that 20-second sub to get rid of whatever that anomaly is that I haven't figured out. And then this is the sequence. So on this particular guy, I have clear view all night long. I'm above 30 degrees the whole night. So I just have one target. You can set multiple targets, of course, but this thing will run until nautical dawn. And I'm taking 5 subs in a row, 300 seconds. And this is, oh, you know, I didn't set that.
The times are long on your broadband.
I mean, 300 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's not a problem. Yeah, I didn't mean, I just did this as we were starting, so. I wanted to take broadband, so
Okay.
I'm gonna change this. I thought I did change it. Blue, and I am not gonna take Loom. Um, I don't know if anybody's got some experience with that, but I know a lot of people that stopped taking Loom and they used another technique. I call it super Loom, where you make a synthetic luminance. And I've been
Typically, when you're taking a loom, would you decrease the exposure time?
no,
Because you're going when you're doing a narrow band, you're barely seeing much.
I guess it's dark enough there
yeah, I
for
don't
the
have a
gain.
problem.
Yeah, for your gains in the sky. That's
Okay.
nice. RGB.
Yeah, but even when I go to a reasonably dark place, it's about a Bortle 3. It's in South Central Florida, and I'm always running 300 seconds, and I typically don't have a problem. Everywhere else I am, I can barely take the telescope out. I'm like typically in Bortle 8, Bortle 9 areas, so that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got green, red, blue. I'm going to shut Loom off. If I need to get it, I'll get it later.
So, what is this super loom you're talking about?
What's what?
What is the super loom you're talking about?
Yeah, I'll go through it when I'm gonna put something together with the sequence. But basically, what I do is you take the RGB and you stack them and use that as your loom. And
Okay.
there's different methods that people use. That's the one I use. You go online, there'll be a half a dozen different ways that people make a synthetic loom. You can also take your RGB and you can extract it. Some people do that. I haven't experimented much with that. But yeah, there's a lot of new thinking about using loom and so forth that I just started looking into. Typically my rule of thumb was I wanted my loom to be the total of the RG and B.
Mhm.
And sucks up a lot of time. And sometimes it made a difference and sometimes it didn't as you're going through the processing. So anyway, that's still a work in process. I'm trying to figure that out, but with this hobby, we're always trying to figure something out. Everything changes like the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this thing will just keep going, and in fact, if you want, we can go look at a sub that came in. So now we're back in Florida. This isn't it. Yeah, so I took 3 subs. Let's just see what we got. Yeah, you can't see anything. Is that the 22nd
That's the
one?
22nd one, I bet.
It doesn't say it's 20 seconds.
Well, it doesn't.
And that's HA, and you might not see much in HA. So now that I switched it to RGB, you'll see now. You see these 4 quadrants. That's what I got to deal with when I'm calibrating.
Mm.
Where did it come from?
It comes from the chip. It's a G-Sense, was it a 4040 chip? And it's made up of 4 separate sensors, and they put them together, and
Oh, I see.
typically you shouldn't see this, but I am, and I'm trying to figure out why it shouldn't be there, but
Fixed
Um,
So
pattern.
that's the electronics, basically, what you're looking at. in the-
yeah, but you shouldn't see it. Or even if you do, it should come out in the wash when you calibrate, but anyway. There might not be much HA out there, so I don't know. Well, let's look at the next one.
It looked like there was something in the when it popped up in Nina though. It's weird.
Yeah, there's not much there. So anyway, we can look at that later if you're interested.
Is that a Sony chip or is it a Taiwanese chip or
It's a G-Sense. I don't know who makes it. Well, G-Sense makes it, but it's a big chip. Yeah, it's a G-Sense 4040. It's 37 by 37 millimeters.
Oh,
With
yeah.
a 9 micron pixel, so it's 4096 by 4096.
pretty big?
It's huge.
Yeah, and even then, you know, the image scale's 0.63, so
Yeah.
anyway, what John had asked me to look at before was my workflow. So I put together a little PowerPoint kind of explaining what I do.
John, are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let
good.
me done. Yep. We're live.
Anyway, so
I like that robin's egg planetary. Or is that a
Yeah.
planetary?
yeah, it's planetary. I liked it. I didn't get much response. I thought it was pretty good, and I was the only one. So on Astrobin, it didn't do very well, but
Hmm.
who the hell knows what they do. Anyway, when I call this a disclaimer, but everybody processes so differently. And some people go more for aesthetics, and I guess it depends on what I'm looking at. If I'm doing broadband, I try to get and try not to mess with the colors too much. Of course, if it's narrowband, all bets are off. But my philosophy typically is to kind of represent what's there, and you don't want to add anything. So processing, if I'm doing it right, should just be taking stuff away, as opposed to adding anything. So, but you know, there's a lot of purists that don't think much of people that do astrophotography. So it kind of depends on who you're talking to and what their goals are. But anyway, that's kind of the way I look at these things. I also,
Tom can be an honorary astrophotographer, not just an EAA guy tonight.
I also do some science stuff. In fact, I do a lot of it down there. I'd probably spend half my imaging time doing science stuff where I'm validating planetary nebula candidates. And you know, a lot of times you're shooting at nothing. But it could be difficult because sometimes you don't really get a signal until you're 50 hours in. So then the question is, do you want to invest 50 hours to see if you have
50
something?
hours?
Yeah,
What are you, nuts?
yeah, and that's what there was something on Astrobin. I don't know if you guys saw it, but they developed a new SNR. When they found one, it was huge, and nobody can understand why it wasn't discovered before. And these guys had 250 hours in it. Among, I think there were 4 different guys that were imaging the thing. Anyway, as I said, philosophies vary, and everybody's process is going to be a little different. I use Nina, not Nina. I use PixInsight, so it's kind of pretty standard. Up until I get to the non-linear phase, everything is pretty cookbook. I play with some variables, and as I get more experience, I'm learning new variables, and so I have different levers to pull. But typically, you just kind of blow right through it. There's not a lot of thought until you get further along in the process. The one thing I do, I blink everything, and I look, from afar, and I look close in and make sure my stars are good. And actually, sometimes I'll do it after it's calibrated as well, to see what's going on. But it's pretty standard. Yeah, and I don't use SharpCap or all the other stuff that a lot of people use. I don't have any experience with that stuff at all. So everything that I'm talking about is from PixInsight. This M42, I just got that a couple days ago, and I was playing with that. That has hardly any processing to it at all, and I couldn't. Well, I played with it to try to do a little better, but I couldn't find much, and I decided not to put the stars back in this particular one. But it's kind of an interesting project. You go out there, and there's more M42s, I think, than anything you can imagine. You go to Astrobin, I think they have 378 pages of M42s. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Anyway, so I'm actually now shooting, this is just within the past couple of weeks as well. I got involved with continuum subtraction. I don't know if you guys heard about that. And it requires shooting broadband and narrowband, which, I was kind of doing that anyway, but typically I would have like RGB or LRGB, and I would add HA or HANO3 and then combine them. And I started playing around with this continuum subtraction, and when you get into really, really faint objects, like it might be magnitude 14 or something, it makes a bit of a difference. But it's still, I'm kind of still feeling my way there. And I'll go through the steps, but it takes forever to do that. It really lengthens the workflow. But so far, the little bit I've played with it, it's been pretty good. Anyway, so when I do narrowband, I'll do a linear fit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it aligns the brightness levels to better match the luminance to the chrominance. And that is, something I'll always do. And I only use two gradient removal tools. I use DVE and I use a Wrap Expert or something. It's more of an automated one, and I'm finding out it's pretty good. A lot of times I'll do both. I'll do DVE and I'll also use the automated one and kind of see which one is better. But DVE is kind of the old standby. But there's a bunch of gradient removal tools, and I don't know what people use. But again, I haven't actually been doing this that long, so I don't have experience with a lot of different tools. I just have my tool set and, kind of is what it is. So anyway, I'll get rid of the gradients and I'll figure out what palette I want or what I want to collect or what I did collect and how I'm going to combine it. And if I have SHO, I'll typically do SHO and I'll do HOO. Sometimes I'll do 4-ax. So you play with all three of them and see which one you get the best result from and, take it from there. So when I have a severe gradient, I'll do each channel separately and then I'll combine them. If not, I'll combine them and then crop and then do the DBE. Then deconvolution. In the past 6 months, 9 months, or whatever it is, the Russ Croman stuff came out, and the deconvolution is a lot easier than it used to be. That used to take half an hour, 40 minutes all by itself to do deconvolution. And then I remove the stars. And I used to remove the stars much later in the process, but now I do it earlier on. Found out that stars can be messed up with the denoise. And so I'm doing it earlier. And then the other thing that I've been doing is I unscreen and rescreen the stars. And I wasn't doing that before, and I couldn't figure out why my stars, when I put them back in, didn't look the way I thought they should look. Are you guys familiar with that at all?
No, what does that mean then? To screen and unscreen?
Well, the actual technical part of the screening and unscreening, I read about it, and it has to do, it's like, it goes into printing technology. And I guess it's a common term if you're a printer or a graphic designer or something. If you're a user of Photoshop, I think I don't know if it's common, but it has that capability.
Yeah, it is used in the printing process. It's some method of blending to screen to what's called screen blend if you're combining things. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it removes the halftone pattern from an image and then you add it back later. And I read about what a halftone is, and it didn't mean a whole lot to me, but it works really well with the stars. And I'll show you the specifics of that in a minute. What I do, the pixel math that I use to unscreen and then to rescreen, and the stars are a lot better. It just took a huge problem away. And then I'll talk a little bit about continuum subtraction, which I'm still experimenting with, but I've only been doing that for 3-4 weeks. So the star treatment. As I mentioned, I take the stars out before the denoise, and then I remove them with unscreening, and I put them back in with rescreening. And you'll scratch your head a little while trying to figure out this pixel math, but this is the pixel math I use to unscreen and to rescreen. Someone did a lot of research on that, and this is what they came up with. And for me, it works really, really well.
And the tildes there mean not, I take it?
Yeah,
So,
well,
okay.
it's the inverse. It's the inverse.
Right, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
super.
Well, you guys know, I mean, what this thing looks like, you know, what the different filters are, but when we talk about continuum subtraction, what the goal is, and I use narrow filters. I use 3 nanometer filters, but even with 3 nanometer filters, you have a lot of stuff that gets through, and all the stuff that isn't like HA signal that gets through affects the quality of the image. So to the extent you can, you want to remove that's the stuff that gets through, they're calling the continuum. So you want to remove the continuum. And there's a lot of different ways of doing it. And, you know, I can talk about the one I'm familiar with. And when you talk about pixel math, there's a ton of different algorithms that people use. But anyway, for example, in HA, we're at 656 nanometers, and so the continuum is going to be in the red zone. So for HA, when we subtract the continuum, what we're subtracting is some portion of the red signal. O3, well, O3, I use a combination of green and blue. You can weight them different ways, and I've been playing with that, and I haven't come up with the best recipe yet. And I've only been doing this 3-4 weeks. For S2 is close to HA, so use red for that one as well. When you subtract the continuum. Well, what is it? I talked about that already. Why use it? It makes things sharper, sometimes noticeably sharper, especially if you're dealing with really, really faint targets. And I come across that a lot with the science stuff that I'm doing, chasing planetary nebula. You take sub after sub after sub, night after night after night, and you don't see a thing on the subs. Until you stack them, you could have 20, 30 hours and you don't even see anything. And I think a lot of time I give up too soon, and there might be something there, and I don't have the patience to actually figure it out if it's really there. Anyway, when continuum subtraction in those situations helped quite a bit. There was one I was working on. It had virtually no HA at all. It had a little bit of O3. And until I stacked, I don't know, 15 or 20 hours, I couldn't see anything in the O3. And then I started to see a little bit, and the continuum subtraction kind of boosted that up quite a bit. Because the noise that was getting through, even on a 3 nanometer filter, was pretty substantial versus the signal. So it made a big difference. There are some add-ins I know for Pix Insight. There's a few different algorithms for the pixel math to subtract the continuum. And again, you know, I'm still playing with that. So the jury's still out, but so far it looks pretty interesting. And the my takeaway is I'm going to start shooting broadband and narrowband and see what I get. I mean, it's going to take a lot of extra time, but to the extent that the continuum subtraction makes a difference, it usually makes a pretty big difference, and it dramatically improves the quality of the image.
And I just so I understand it, the final output is a narrowband image, but you've subtracted just a portion of your red data, for example, from your like a
Yeah,
fraction?
you might weight it, and you'll have to play with the weights to see what works.
Mhm.
The bottom line is if you subtract too much, it darkens the image significantly, so you just have to ease off. And you're still talking about in my case, and would be 3 nanometers, 5 nanometers, 9, whatever your filters are. With 3, there's stuff sneaking through, but it's not that much. So when you subtract it, that's all you're taking out is that little sliver of whatever slipped through
Okay.
on the red.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
So the nonlinear part, I stretch it twice typically. And well, I guess one thing I should say is I never do the same thing twice. So this is kind of an overview, but as you run across a situation, you deal with it the best you can, and you see what works and what doesn't work. So I could go through 2, 3, 4 iterations of playing with things until I can figure out what works best. And I have the luxury of getting a lot of data, so it makes things a little easier in that regard. But this is generally what I go through. I'll do 2 histogram transformations, and then I'm playing around with the enhancing and sharpening. And this is, it's a rabbit hole. You see a lot of images, and it depends on I guess what you're looking at, but you don't want to over sharpen. Kind of makes things not look right. And a lot of times you won't figure out that you over sharpen something until you get to the end of the workflow. In fact, there's a lot of things like that from my experience. The 2 things that bite me most often is doing the gradient removal and DVE. If I do that incorrectly, and you don't know that it's incorrect until you get further on in the workflow, all of a sudden you just get to a point where you can't do what you want to do. And I trace back to see where I might have screwed it up, and I'll go and redo DVE and then go through that whole thing again. And sometimes it takes a couple of iterations until you get that right. Then the other thing that bites me is the first transformation and first histogram transformation. What I aim to do is to get about 10% gray in the background. And there's an infinite number of ways to getting the 10% gray in the background.
I'm gonna call the district supervisor tomorrow.
So, that's something that is also one of those things you don't see what the result is until later. And sometimes it'll just rob all the color out of the image, and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So a lot of times after I do the first stretch, I'll go right to the end, to curves, and I'll just do an experiment to see if my color is still there, or it's there to the extent that I want it to be there. And I call it a trip into the future, and you kind of see, you trying to guess where you might get to when you get to that point in the process. And there's a gazillion ways to sharpen things. And again, I'm only familiar with PixInsight, and there are, God, I don't know how many tools in PixInsight, but I only use like 3 or 4 of them. And it works for me. And I'm not too bright, so I can't keep track of all these other variables that the other processes introduce. And it's enough to be able to learn the levers on the processes that I do use. And that's ever evolving as well. You know, you can keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper into any one of these processes, and gives you a little more control over what your output is. But this is kind of what I run through. Local histogram equalization, I might do it once, twice, 3 times, typically not more than that. You have to play with the percentages there to see what's what. Exponential transformation. I'll do it each time, but I probably only end up using it maybe 20% of the time, depending on what the result looks like. And I mean, the same thing with all of these sharpening tools. I can show you on
Ooh, beautiful.
I can show you on PixInsight my workflow based on the icons that I have set up. I can kind of show you how I do my bookkeeping there. Anyway, so you know, the last thing I'll do is the dark structure enhance, and I might use that 50% of the time. I'll always do it to see what the result is. But up until this point, you know, believe it or not, it's pretty mechanical. There's not after you get your defaults dialed in, there's not a lot of variability in the workflow. But when I get to curves, sometimes I'll be using curves for 20 minutes, and sometimes I'll use it for hours on end, trying to figure out how to get what I want to get out of it. You know, without violating some of the rules you have. You know, you don't want to create stuff. But that's the tricky part. Anyway, so when I get done curves, I'll put the stars back in with rescreening. When I process the stars separately because when I took them out, they were linear. So I will do you know, I'll stretch them, and then I might make them bigger, I might make them smaller, change the intensity, maybe modify the color. You know, at that point, it gets down to aesthetic choices. But you know, that's one area that I play with is stars. Some people like big stars, some like little stars. You know, in this case, you know, it's a reflector, so you get the star spikes. Some people don't like star spikes, but they're there, so sometimes it helps aesthetically, and some people just don't like them because it's quote unquote unnatural. So, you know, that's kind of it. And then I do the ICC profile transformation at the end with, you know, it keeps the color so that it's uniform among, you know, different people looking at it different ways. And that's my workflow.
That's wild. In the picture you have there, are those, that would be a narrowband image.
Yeah.
And the star data is then just from the narrowband data?
In that case, I'd have to go look, but
Yeah.
I bet you that it's broadband data.
Okay, I was like, those are nice looking stars. I was curious.
Yeah, that's definitely broadband. This this image was my nemesis. It was I just kept adding data and adding data and adding data, and a guy that taught me a lot of what I know. His way of looking at how much data is enough data is, he says, you have to question, am I willing to double what I have? And if you're not willing to double what you have, it's enough data. Because he said, you're not going to get a meaningful change unless you double what you have.
Good way to look at it.
This thing, I have to go back and look, but I bet it's got 50, 60 hours on it. And I didn't get the detail that I thought I would get. and I stopped collecting data. Now, looking back, I might go back and look at my calibrated subs, and I might have to, if I weed them, I might get some, some better signal. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty good. But I was looking at some really pristine examples of this, and I was trying to achieve that, and I didn't. But it's got a ton of hours. I process stuff multiple times. As I get more data, the way I typically decide if I'm going to keep collecting data or not is if I can get a decent result based on whatever I have. So I'll do what I call previews, and I'll do them every 2 or 3 days as I'm collecting data. And when I get a result I like, the noise is reasonable and the detail is reasonable, I just stop collecting data. Sometimes that happens in 5 hours, and sometimes it happens in 50 hours. It just depends.
So Dan, on the picture that you had before, the Great Barred Galaxy, Barred Spiral, was that IFN in the background? See the smokiness?
I don't know. This galaxies for me are a real challenge. Trying to balance the dust that's there from what isn't, and well, in this case, it's not dust, but
It looks like IFN.
yeah, and it could be. I don't know. Well, if you see the raw data on something like that, it's a long way from the finished product, and as are most galaxies. A lot of times what I'll do before I start working on something is I'll go out and I'll find 2 or 3 examples of somebody that I have some respect for that's processed it already. So you kind of have something to aim for. But it's so dependent on the equipment that you have and the seeing that you have, and the weather and how much
Well,
data.
you're that guy for me.
On what guy?
You're the guy that like, can I do what Dan did? I can't even come close.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment, but yeah, there's some guys out there that are just wizards, and this is like a full-time job for me, so I put a lot of time in.
Yeah, how much you get paid?
Huh?
How much do you get paid?
Well, it's one thing I always tell people: the easiest part of this hobby is paying for stuff. It's a bottomless pit. And
Well, you know what? I mean, you made this video, right? You just keep making videos on YouTube, and you open up your own little how-to business, and then you have tax write-offs.
no, I'm still a neophyte. I'm still a neophyte. This is I've
Well,
only
you're
been
very
doing this
modest.
for years. What?
You're very modest.
No, I haven't been doing this that long. I
Doesn't matter. You're still pretty
respect you
good at
guys that can look at the sky and see what you see. I've never lived in a place dark enough where I can look up at the sky and see anything. So it's kind of hard to learn the sky when you can't see it. So you guys that go out there and star hop, it just amazes me. I have too much technology, so it's harder to learn.
I don't know. It's
Yeah.
very impressive, Dan.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really glad you had some time with Nina too, because that's something I'm just now digging into.
Yeah,
So,
make sure you post that. I want to go over that.
yeah, I'll take care of it.
You finding everything all right then, John, on running stuff?
Yeah, this is all good. I'll
Okay.
bug you about the website later.
Um, let's go take a look at Nina and see what it's doing. See if I got that error again with the
Hold your breath.
guiding.
So do you use Telescopius, or is all this part of Nina?
It's all part of Nina. I use Stellarium sometimes to look for targets.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Nina database is somewhat limited.
I like the Telescopius because it shows you the peak, when it's going to cross the meridian.
No, I have all that.
Yeah, that's what I noticed on Nina.
Yeah.
It's in, you could type in, I'm assuming you could type in your the field of view and all, and sort by object.
Yep. Nina's got this thing called Sky Atlas up here. Computer's really slow. Anyway, you have a bunch of variables you can put in, and it'll help you find targets. Give me some parameters and let's see what I can find. I typically look for an altitude above 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to go from dusk until midnight. I want it visible for, I don't know, let's say 2 hours. You can decide how big you want it to be.
So, okay, let's say 30 or a half the size of the moon. So what's that, 30 arc
30 arc
minutes?
minutes. You could do like 10 arc minutes to 1 degree.
Well, let's go to 30 arc minutes.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's from you said from 1 degree, so let's go from 10 arc minutes to 1 degree.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, you can decide where you want the moon to be, but let's forget about the moon for the time being. And it gives you a list of what you might be looking for. They got a pretty nice list. Tell me what you want to look for. Let's see what comes up.
Well, what about the jellyfish? Is that in the
Nebulas.
we're in the wrong
What is the what's the designation of jellyfish?
I don't know, but I think we're in the wrong part of the sky here.
Well, I'll tell you. Jellyfish nebula, there it is. Yeah, it doesn't look promising, but let's see. Yeah, if this
It's
is
near Gemini.
so, it looks like I have visibility above 30 degrees for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, but it's just barely above 30 degrees. It only goes to 37. You see this thing down here?
Yeah.
It
So
looks like it's the same star view as what SGP uses.
yeah, it could be. So anyway, this is my
Star
field of
library.
view.
So we're looking toward the asteroid belt right now. How about moving targets like asteroids?
I don't know. I don't know. I never tried. I don't think that's a category, but let's see.
Well, I mean, you can look in that area and there should be some. You could probably find the James Webb Telescope.
Yeah, sometimes you can go look at what the sky. Forget what that website is, and yeah, if you wanted to look at an asteroid, you find out what the coordinates are, and you can look. I typically don't. A couple of weeks ago, I took a picture of the comet that they discovered
All right.
in Lemon. And Adam Block actually responded to my post.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because I said in my post that I think I need a bigger boat. So he came back and said, "You don't need a bigger boat. You got to go buy my video, and it'll show you how to do it."
Of course he said that.
He was
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, he was a nice guy. Anyway, give me some categories and let's see what we can find.
Put galaxies in there. Why not? Good one.
Well, galaxy season doesn't happen for another
It's okay. We'll see what
few
pops up.
months.
All right.
So we got nebulas and
Should see
galaxies.
M81 and M82 should be popping up.
Let me get down. Let's do a search and see
That'd be a big galaxy, yeah.
what we got.
Yeah, Andromeda, Triangulum,
Um,
the bubble.
yeah, well, this is what came up. And as far as visibility goes, you can see what's what.
Oh, wait a minute, you're in the southern hemisphere. I forgot.
Yeah.
And what about oh gosh, uh,
That's so cool. But the LDNs, those are the dark nebula, I guess, right?
which is that one galaxy that looks like an S, like a sideways S, opened up? I can't think of it. Gosh, can only see it from the southern hemisphere.
Southern, no, you're not talking about the southern pinwheel.
No, is it? It's not Sculptor. Um, I'm drawing a blank. Don't get old, Dan.
No, I'm already there. Anyway, I mean, this is a nice feature of Nina because it'll help you find stuff.
As long as you can think of what you're looking for.
Oh, no, it's great. I'm gonna try this on the next cloudy day. I didn't know you could do this in there. So I've used the framing assistant, which is one question I had. Do you have a rotator on yours? I'm guessing you don't because you have a square camera.
No, I do.
Oh, you do. That's
Yeah.
wild. The framing assistant, I think you can like even rotate it.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. And you can rotate it and it'll transfer to the sequence and the sequence will drive the rotator.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I
yeah,
have
when I do it manually, I have a TOA 130 that I use locally.
mhm.
And Nina's got a really cool feature. You can, and that's got a 6200 mm, so it's a rectangular chip.
Mhm.
Um,
How about-
you can frame it the way you want to frame it just by rotating the camera, and then it'll plate solve, and it'll tell you how many degrees you got to go this way or how many degrees it's got to go that way. So
Yeah.
it's unbelievably cool. And
Yeah, that blew my mind when I saw that. I was
yeah, it's really slick. The other thing, did you ever use the Flat Wizard in Nina?
I have one time, but yeah.
Show us.
They got the Flat Wizard. So when I'm taking flats, well, here I have it set for sky flats, but you know, you can set your times. It'll go click away. You know, you can set the histogram mean target and the tolerance and so forth, and it'll remember all of the exposures. And then it'll go back and take the dark flats at those same exposures. So it's really nice.
What about the Tarantula Nebula? Is that out there now?
The what, tarantula?
Yeah. Or
Uh,
Eta Carina? Is that out there?
what's the tarantula? It's NGC.
I don't know.
I think it might be. Well, let's see. That was one of the ones I stuck in the
Then there's the Statue of Liberty one that you did. Didn't you do that one?
yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah, it shows up. Let's see what the visibility is. Yeah, it's visible the whole night.
Cool.
Have you done that one yet?
Oh, what, tarantula?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I think that was in the PowerPoint.
That's the
Yeah, here it is.
There it was.
Here it is. It's 2070.
Oh, you know
That's
what? I
wild.
must have gotten up. I'm sorry when you did that.
No, that's fine.
Eta Carina, that's part of it in there, right? It's NGC 1760 or 2032.
Well, we can go to Astrobin and I can tell you.
NGC 3372.
Is it?
This is all your stuff?
Yeah.
Wow, Dan. Impressive.
So what were you looking for?
NGC 3372.
Not in my field of view.
That's a really small one.
Or it might not be listed, but
Eta Carina. It's a famous one.
yeah.
Thanks so much, Dan, for sharing some of your secret sauce and some of the tools. Like you said, there's so many tools, and since I'm starting out too, I'm just I've done some Sharp Cap, done some Nina. I'm seeing what sticks. I might use a little of everything. Let's see.
Yeah, when I
What's the Southern Galaxy?
But
I can't think of it.
yeah, I appreciate it.
it's easy to get confused with you have too many tools and too many variables, and you end up. I kind of honed in on a relatively small set, and you can try to at least master them.
Yeah, definitely. Did anybody else have any questions, or did we have another 15 minutes or so where everybody goes out in the cold and looks for meteors?
You're not going to go up the Green Lane, John, and set up?
I was up last night in the front yard, the driveway.
Oh, here's the one I'm looking for. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Not
Not well.
really.
Your phone, but it's bright
No.
and fuzzy.
Hold on a minute. Why is it not telling me what it is?
Did we want to do a little bit of
it's a galaxy with a dark, it's all dark, dark lanes, in the southern hemisphere. The
You're not
hell
thinking of
is
the
it called?
sombrero, are you? Or what are you?
Not the sombrero. Observing springtime with deep sky objects. Right. It's let's see. Here's another view of it.
Oh, good.
Play solve it, Tom. Play solve it with your eyes.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's not really working out well there.
No,
I don't know if you can see what we see, but it's
Why isn't it telling me what it's called?
well, that is your assignment for next
There
month
you
is to
Yeah.
have
Oh,
the
here it
find
is.
what it is.
NGC 5128.
NGC what?
5128.
The radio galaxy? Centaurus A?
Centaurus Alpha. Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
yeah, that's just that's kind of on the way south. That's just above just below or just above rather Omega Centauri. If you keep going south, you hit Omega Centauri.
Yeah,
I've
that's the
I've
one.
I've looked for that at Cherry Springs because the southern sky is so dark, but it's only going to be about 8 degrees high. But I know people who have done some very low
From
horizon
Cherry
stuff.
Springs?
Yeah,
Hey,
but
guys.
it's too low. You can get to about 10 degrees of the horizon. You can go to about minus 40. And I think Centaurus says about minus 42 or 43. I haven't been able to get it. I try to time it between little gaps in the trees, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, right now it's not visible in the southern hemisphere.
It's not
Okay.
visible. There's another one that looks like that, but
It's a springtime thing here. So
it
it's
looks like a G clef. It gets a galaxy. The hell's it called?
the G Clef Galaxy.
Yeah. It's not wise ass.
Yeah.
You guys are
Yeah.
making fun of me here now.
Hey guys,
Did you get some data, Doug?
why can't there be good Linux astrophotography capture software? I hate this. The problem is right now I got a sequence, but I can't press the run button because the run button is off the physical screen.
Oh, I was hoping that
Like, so I don't know, maybe this is when you wonder if am I meant for this?
yes, yeah.
All I have to do is enter.
Spaceship.
Okay, I enter the sequence, but the run button is off the physical screen, so I can't hit the run button.
You gotta find your scroll bar or something, your virtual desktop. I don't know.
Do you want me to run over there with a flashlight?
Yeah,
Lou
turn the
will
light
help
on.
If you want to run, no, I'm in Narberth.
Oh.
You're in the dark, Doug.
Yeah.
Can't see.
There's Centaurus Alpha, and then there's the Sculptor Galaxy.
Look up 1097, NGC 1097. Is that the one you're talking about?
NGC 1097. Ooh, supernova.
Called the Eye of Horus? Caldwell 67?
No, that's a barred spiral galaxy about 45 million light years away from the
I
constellation.
know Gary's posted some stuff recently on Astrobin. He's been busy. Saw some
You
of
know
that.
what? Oh, you know what? Dan, you could probably see from
I have.
Chile.
Yeah. I saw you're lighting up. You've been posting some old stuff, it looks like, and then some new stuff too.
Yeah, I have some of each. I went back and reprocessed some stuff before I had changed my workflow from the early days. And then I also was poking around with some using false color, like HOO and SHO processing for the dual band one-shot color. For that, I use that IDAS Nebula Boost
Yeah.
filter. It's wide, it's dual band, it's wide, but I'm finding it working quite well. It's about 10 to 12 nanometers for each band. So I've been doing some of that. I think I threw some in a folder. I could share
Let's have
my
a look.
stuff.
Oh, let me make sure you're.
Hey, just a reminder, guys, if you've taken the pictures that you particularly like over the last month, say, send them to the newsletter. Just send them to my email because I'm the editor for January, and I'm going to be looking
Okay.
for some images to post in the newsletter.
Nice.
So if you got anything new, Gary, put it up there. John, Steve,
I do.
and pick
I don't know,
pick
connect
one
with
of your
that showing?
favorites. Huh?
Yeah, Gary, you did this a while ago.
Yeah, so this is the original, so this is the original rosette that I did a long time ago. And then I just reprocessed that data with the HOO palette to try to bring out, and the weighting factors are done to try to bring out more of the O3 signal, more of the oxygen part of it. You can see it's in here, right? You know, sort of the white part.
Right.
It's still
And this
showing
is-
the finger clips or the clips thumbnails.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
doing that thing Windows does.
let me
It's the
see what
first
I'm
one that you
sharing.
had.
We see all three of them, but we can't see it zoomed in.
Okay, so
For whatever,
let me
Windows
see.
always does this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let me see. Hold on. I'll try it again.
Open it first,
I
then.
was trying to share the folder so I could just scroll through the folder rather
Okay.
than do it as individual pictures.
Okay. Yeah.
But why is that not working? No, I don't even see it. Oh, you know what it might be? I have two desktops. Hold on.
The two desktops will always get you.
So this is screen one. So if I share that, I should be able to open a folder in here.
Yeah. We see your whole desktop.
Correct, yeah. So,
Nice comment.
oh, thank you. Yeah, I finally changed my background wallpaper to scroll. Every 10 to 30 minutes, it puts a new picture up. And the nice side benefit of that is it actually winds up, where did my folder go? It actually winds up, since I have two monitors, it doesn't use the same monitor, the same image on both monitors. Like if you
Oh.
just set your background, it winds up always being the same
Right.
A
image.
duplicate. Yeah.
If it seems like if you set it to screensaver to a slideshow mode, it puts a different image up on each one. Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. So let me see if I put that here.
Okay.
you go.
You see
Showing
it?
up
Yeah.
a folder. Now,
Yep.
if I click that, are you
I
seeing?
see it. I see it.
Yeah, now it's
Yeah.
good.
Okay, so this is
What's-
on the you know, cone, Christmas tree, the
Oh,
fox,
right.
fox
Yes.
hair.
Yeah.
This is something I shot a while ago, and I reprocessed this in HOO. So the original image, I have three of them here. Maybe I don't have the original. Oh, no, I don't have the original in this folder. So I did this in HOO, and then I did this in a variation of HHO, mapping more of the emission part to the red spectrum, to the red channel, and then the synthesizing R and G, I mean green and blue channels to bring up this this sort of emission part of it. You can see how it's a lot whiter. I should throw the original in there. Why don't I have that? Let me see. I'm going to move this here.
Nice. And this is all one-shot color.
This is all one-shot color.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one-shot color. Yeah. So anyway, I'll move on. So then the other thing, I actually lean towards this. But it's really hard to tell. I kind of like them both. So I have them both in the slideshow that shows up on my background, so I get to look at them both. the other thing I did recently was, this is when I was down in Assateague, I shot a wide field of the Crescent Nebula. And then I also, when I was home, I used my C9 1/4 to just shoot the kind of center of it, the actual crescent itself.
Yeah.
That's a
So I
faint one. That's hard to get from home.
Yeah, and this is shot just with a light pollution suppression. I have an IDAS, it's a LPS -P2 filter, which is not super extended into the UV. It kind of has a little sharper cutoff than I think they had like a P1, 2, and 3 or something. Now they've changed the numbering. But anyway, this is shot from my backyard. This is one that could definitely use more time to get some of this stuff, to
Yeah.
pull more of this out, more
Still
of this
very impressive.
stuff.
I tried to do that from my backyard here, and it was barely visible.
Yeah, and even if if you crop in here, there's a reasonable amount of stuff going on, but you just don't have the detail as, something that's 3 times the focal length.
It's like half an arc second per pixel you shoot or something.
Well, for the C9 1/4, yeah, for the long
Yeah.
focal length stuff, yeah.
With those, right.
It's almost exactly half.
Right.
And
Yes.
then I've been working with 2x drizzling
Oh
on
yeah.
the wider field stuff because I'm undersampled on that slightly.
Right.
Not a lot, but slightly.
Yeah.
That's actually been working out well. Then this is resampled down. This is 50%. So
Okay.
this is sampled back down again.
So
The one downside of the drizzle files is when I save the intermediate steps. So like Dan was saying, I don't know how many times I get far along and it's like, oh no, this isn't coming out the way I want. And then I go back to some real early step because a lot of those errors in judgment back then, in processing, in the nonlinear processing, wind up biting you in the ass later on. It creates problems that you just kind of can't seem to get around unless you go back to the earlier step and then just start over. But they're like 1.2 gig each.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're
Yeah.
For an
huge,
APS-C
huge
sensor.
files. But anyway, hard drive space is relatively cheap.
extremely
This is
cheap
the,
now.
This is the
This one.
crystal ball
Yeah.
nebula. I'm not seeing what the maybe I can get rid of this guy.
NGC 1514. It's coming up right now.
Yeah, okay, let me just move this out of the way.
here.
One of my
That came out nice, Gary.
my Zoom menu bar is kind of in the way of the name. Yeah, so this is 117 2-minute exposures. What I find is when I'm up Cherry Springs, I'll typically do 3 to 5 minute exposures, more so 5-minute exposures, even without a filter, because there's just not a lot of light pollution. At Assateague, I found myself doing 3-minute exposures. When I'm home, I typically do 2-minute with wideband and 3-minute with narrowband. And the balance there is to try to get signal, but I also don't want to blow out all the stars. So I'm always kind of balancing that. So this is the
Swan.
Flaming Star Nebula. And this one I did something a little wacky, but why not experiment? So this I had some data from 2 nights at home that was narrowband, the dual band 1-shot color. And then when I was at Assateague, I shot without any filter. So it's just broadband RGB. I wound up processing them all the same way. Obviously in weighted batch preprocessing, you can use keywords and you can point the folders so it matches your darks and your flats to the session. So that was done, but it's basically the version that I had where it was just from home didn't have much of the white. It didn't have sort of much of that emission part showing. The wideband brought it out much more with the Assateague data. Plus the star field from Assateague was just so rich. I was routinely measuring 20.9 to 21 when I was down there.
That's
And
beautiful,
in terms of
Gary.
I have one of the narrowband SQM meters. So I like this combination of both because it really shows sort of the benefit of the emission part from the narrowband, and then also the benefit of the I'm sorry, the emission part from the narrowband and the reflection part
Ah,
from the wideband.
nice.
You did a great job with that, putting them together.
Thank you, thank you. The
Nice
other thing
job,
I
Chris.
did, like I did similar with the Crescent, is when I got home, I pointed my 9 1/4 to just this part, to just kind of the NGC open cluster in there that's lighting all this up. And okay, which is this. So this is that's just the middle.
What? It looks just like the heart. That's the middle of the heart. Wait.
Oh, this is the middle of the heart. Sorry. Yeah, this isn't the
I
flame
was
heart.
had deja vu for a second.
Yeah, no. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. I
No,
had
it's
that.
good.
Yeah.
Trying to confuse us.
I did them both, but I don't have the
It's
flaming.
not in order. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the heart. This is, in fact, the name of it's the heart of the heart.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you. And there's some, even though it's kind of hazy, it wasn't a good night. It was a little hazy. There's something, I don't know, kind of that draws me into this picture. And it was interesting on Astrobin, I posted, and I didn't think it would get any likes. And it actually wound up getting quite a few likes over some other pictures that I thought might get more likes. So I think there's something about it that maybe has a little wider appeal too. I know it certainly appeals to me, even though when I first processed it, I really didn't like it, not quite at all, but I didn't like it. I wasn't real happy with it because I wanted it to be crisper. This is also something that, you know, could benefit from more data, obviously. I sympathize with Dan. I don't like to over sharpen things. I think there's so much out there that just looks so fake that I just don't like that kind of crunchy look that some people call it. So that's my attempt at that. I had some old data.
Ah, jellyfish.
So I did the jellyfish, and I processed that data. This is only this is 47 times 2. So, you know, it isn't even 2 hours worth of data. So this is something that I'll definitely go back to and just throw more data at it.
Beautiful.
Then I took John
Yeah.
Weingruber's lead with his composition, and I wound up shooting this with dual narrowband, processing it conventionally, and then processing it in the HO,
Oh, wow.
which I like to look at that too.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
The star
there's the
clusters
bubble.
look good too.
Here's the oh, that's the other one I did close up was the
Oh, yeah,
bubble.
the bubble. Check it out.
So
Very cool.
That's a cool looking nebula. I love that one.
yeah, and then I have let me throw that in here. Hold
Is
on.
it what is that, M52 up there?
Yeah. No, that's yeah, it is. This is M52 here. The one down here, my menu's in the way. This little guy here is an NGC open cluster. And then I shot the bubble. Let me see if I can drop that in this folder. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Let me drop this in this folder. I shot the bubble close up too. So let's see if I can get to that.
You don't have the Pac-Man in there, do you?
I don't. I didn't throw it in there. That's one that I processed recently from old data. So I do have that I shot the end of last year.
You got Pac-Man fever.
So this is with the C9 1/4.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the bubble with the C9 1/4.
That looks nice and shiny.
Yeah. And that's 183 exposures, 2 minutes each. On some of the file names I've been putting the total, but the file names get so long that even though I have Windows systems set to not care about it, some software won't let me drag and drop and stuff because of the file names being too long. You have to navigate to it. What else? So, this is one that I shot a while ago that it just M8 and M20
Yeah.
with dual band. I usually shoot this wide field, and not wide field, I mean wide band, I meant to say. But this time, since I was in my backyard, I shot. I'm sorry, this is Blue Mountain Vista. I shot this using the narrow band filter, and I'll work on this a little more to get more of that
The
reflection part out.
Yeah, it's hard.
This is very little. This is 50 minutes worth of data.
What?
That's it. The whole picture.
Yeah, that's 25 2-minute subs. It was
Wow.
setting, and it was a lousy night. It was haze everywhere. I didn't think I was going to get anything, like anything. And I wound up
Oh, it's
being
beautiful.
pleasantly surprised when I stacked. I just did it kind of as a test. So I mean, there's stuff going on in there.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, yeah.
a lot
Like
of contrast.
for 50 minutes, being in the muck, I was surprised. And this could use more work and more data.
It almost looks like a 3D, like there's like a little tunnel, you get sucked into that little tunnel and you can say goodbye forever.
Yeah, down and go into the spiral into the vortex.
Yeah.
And then oh, this is just an open cluster. This is NGC 7789. Shot narrow. This is shot with the C9.25. I thought it was really beautiful. It just has I don't know, there's something about it that's just
Nice.
I like some of the younger stars, some of the older stars. It's a really nice mix of stars in that open cluster.
Good guiding, my goodness.
Thank you. Yeah, this is with off axis. I've actually taken that apart. I've taken that off axis apart. I'm having too much trouble with it. So I wound up going back to piggyback guiding, and it's worked fine before, and it works fine again. So I'm going to just stick with that.
Oh, I love my off-axis guider.
I know people swear by it, and I gave it a college try, and I spent a lot of time with it. I have some botched sessions, so I paid my dues with it, and it's just, to me, I don't have to worry about differential flexure. I've never had that be an issue because I have a really sturdy mount for my guide scope, and my guide scope's tiny. That why bother? So for me, I'm back to just regular guiding. This is the Pelican, and I processed this. This is dual band. I processed this conventionally, and I also processed it with HOO mapping. And I actually kind of lean towards this, and I really kind of lean towards it zoomed in a little. So I actually wound up cropping one square, just showing that, because I don't know, there's just something about that that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. This is shot at Blue Mountain. This is 104 2-minute exposure, so about 200 minutes, so a little less than 3.5 hours.
my goodness, you've been busy.
Yeah, well, I just kind of let it run in the backyard, so it's been working out fine. This is one that I shot at Blue Mountain a long time ago. This was shot the end of last year. Well, a long time ago, roughly a year ago. And this was on a whim. Joe Lamb we were talking about this Perseus A, Perseus cluster. And I thought, oh, let me just move the telescope over. So this is the 9.25 with a focal reducer, no filters. And just for shits and grins, so they're the NGC objects that are in there. And then there's with the addition PGC galaxies.
That's crazy.
And when you zoom in, they're in there. They're like all over the place.
Yeah.
Things you would think were stars or galaxies.
There's a lot of them.
They're all over the place.
I wonder how many are not labeled.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, like this one, this is not really showing up, whatever was supposed to be there. But, and for an NGC, you would think it would be something bright, unless it's this little
Right. A pair.
double star thing or something.
Is
to
that like a,
find every star.
maybe lensing effect?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that up. But even some of the little ones, they're just, you can still see some of the spiral structure,
There's
some
this texture.
art.
Yeah, a lot of texture, and then you can see the other, like the H alpha parts in there.
So this is 35 5-minute exposures at Blue Mountain. And so you're talking 165 minutes worth of data. So 2 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. And it's not very deep, yet there's a lot there. And that's not that great a sight. I usually get, when I'm up there, I'm like on my SQM meter, 19.2, 19.4. Sometimes you might get to a 20 kind of night. But generally speaking, it's not, I guess, what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a few other ones that I don't have in this folder, but that's kind of, in a nutshell, some recent processing or recent photons.
That's cool. It's definitely nice to see. I like seeing the side by side of the HO versus like more standard narrowband.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I
cool.
do too.
I'm curious, does anybody have a view of the antenna galaxies?
I don't.
Dan, that's near the sombrero. You're close to the horizon, near the southern hemisphere there.
Yeah, so this is, let me drop this in here.
What's it, Lou?
The antenna.
Let me see if it pops up.
So,
On the fading machines.
yeah, let me
You'll
just-
know it when you see it.
NGC 4038.
I threw this in. This is the original that I was,
Oh,
that I
okay.
thought I had
Christmas
it here.
tree.
So this is that Christmas tree, that same area
Oh,
with the just dual band, but conventional RGB processing.
Right.
That's what that looks like. This is with like what some people refer to as traditional. Here, let me get him. Traditional HOO. And then this is a variant.
The
Of it.
blended. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see that right now.
Who's that?
That NGC 4038, I can't see.
The antenna.
Oh, the antenna. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing.
I
Thanks,
tried
Gary.
to do that one.
You're welcome.
It's so low.
Yeah, really nice, Gary.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Tom.
Gary, very impressive, especially from up here in these bright skies.
Yeah, the narrow band filter's been a godsend for that. Or even that light pollution with when I shoot through the 9 1/4, I'm using that light pollution filter. And that's like 4 or 5 bands. And that helps a lot. And with the narrower field, it's less of an issue. Or it seems like it's less of an issue. Like to have to shoot narrow band. Even
I
though
know we're at time, but I'd be happy to, if you have 3 minutes, I have some mistakes I could share.
Yeah, we can all learn from mistakes.
I might actually have to run.
Yeah, if you feel free if anyone needs to drop, we're already at time.
Yeah,
but,
I have a scope about ready to run out there.
oh gosh. Right?
I
It's a nice night.
gotta run too.
Okay, thanks so much for your
All right,
presentation, Dan.
guys.
Sure.
You're welcome, and thank you. Dan.
It'll be on YouTube.
Enjoyed seeing that. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Gary.
you, Dan, for the.
Oh, hey, John and Lou.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, guys. John?
Yes.
Okay, all the hard shit worked tonight. Guiding is working.
Good.
Did play.
I had with my AVX. It's definitely a hardware problem with the AVX.
Did plate solve and
Frank
resync work?
Colosimo's mount is not giving me any problems at all.
I see. That's great.
So the only thing is the Windows user interface. That's what it is. I don't know what my problem is. I'm just incompatible with Windows.
Are you
I think
saying
that's-
it's a user error?
Ooh,
Is that,
I
I
blame
don't
Bill
know
Gates.
what it is.
I'm
or is
sharing
it, could it be
Yeah, so
that,
I'm
It's-
capturing. No, I'm capturing right now.
could it be that street light up
You know.
there that's causing the problems?
Yeah, this was what I was doing last night,
Oh,
and I
you
might go
guys-
do this tonight.
You guys are brutal.
You don't have a
You
screen,
guys
do
are
you?
brutal.
So this is my
right.
driveway, and I have a remote observing session in my driveway,
Yeah.
and I control it from my desktop inside. And it's Christmas, so of course there's even more light pollution. It's
Of
great.
course. Oh,
But
nice.
Yeah.
you can see what's the real bright star? I just blanked.
Serious?
Sirius, thank you. Thank
Serious.
you. Yeah, Sirius is up there. It's about all you can see.
I think the street light is brighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about airplanes and subs, this was when I caught. So I'm also using Nina, and I have a different color scheme, and this is what it looks like while I'm running it. So it runs the sequence in the corner here. But I tried to make it look like SharpCap because that was easier for me.
Maybe Nina's the answer.
It's the question.
There's probably just different. I'll probably just run into different problems with that.
But they might be better problems.
Yeah, right.
So, Garrett, what happened? Quick lesson. I updated all my software before I went imaging, and that blew everything up. So
Oh no.
in the update to Nina, they changed what they called the high gain mode. And so I didn't realize I was shooting in basically gain 0 all night for you ZWO folks. And this is you've heard
Yeah,
of
you might want to bring it up a little bit.
Yeah, you've heard of noise, Poisson noise, whenever you underexpose your image. So this was very underexposed, but this is the same object Gary showed us a few minutes ago,
Yeah,
NGC
yeah, I
1514.
recognized it.
It's only half an hour. I have like maybe an hour or two of horizons straight up because of all the trees here. So that was just kind of cool to get something. And the other one I got real quick, I'll show you. It was that's the same one.
This is from your backyard, right?
This is
Your
yeah,
driveway?
just right here in Philly, Bortle 8, with that light pollution you saw.
So John, you were in the driveway.
Yeah.
What's on the other side of your house?
There's a backyard, but the trees are pretty bad back there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is where I was imaging this. What are you thinking?
Yeah, we gotta go pack with it.
You're thinking anything's better than this, probably.
Well, now my Portal 7's looking pretty darn good.
Right?
So I imaged this. I wasn't sure what it was. NGC 1893.
It's not
And
bad, John.
I was looking at it and I was like, is this what they call
The
tadpoles?
tadpoles.
And I was like, oh. It's also horribly underexposed. You can see all the shot noise.
But even still, I mean,
Yeah, still,
considering
it's
where
pretty
you're
cool,
shooting from,
I had
you made
But-
out the tadpoles. That's pretty impressive.
I was happy to find focus. I was happy to
Yeah,
get
the
polar
focus is very
aligned.
good. Yeah,
So-
stars are sharp.
Guiding was pretty garbage because you have to calibrate the guiding thing, but I don't have any sky to calibrate it on.
All
So I was
right.
looking straight up when it calibrated and it threw an error and I was like, yeah, go anyway.
Yeah, good
So-
luck.
Anyway, that's my I had fun making some mistakes last night. It was great.
All right, guys, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, me
Good
too.
night. Thank you, John, for running this.
Thanks
I
for your
appreciate it.
patience, guys.
Yeah,
Doug?
thanks for what's up.
Yeah. All right. Good luck.
I'll see
looking at
see
some
some of you
meteors.
on Friday, maybe.
Yeah, check your
Yeah.
camera.
Is
Let
that
me
the
know.
last day of the auction, Friday?
Friday is the online auction was last night at midnight. It ended. So now it's in person on Friday.
So I had a bid on something, so I hope I won.
Or you can go on Friday and keep bidding it up. If somebody else bid it, you can go higher if you want.
Well, if no one else bid it. I'm not gonna tell you what it is because I don't want any competition.
I'll just add $1 more,
Yeah.
and I'll sell it to you for $10 more. Take a little profit.
Fuck that.
Oh,
All right, good.
boy.
All right, I'll see you guys on Friday.
Good seeing you.
Right.
See you
Yeah,
guys.
take care.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Good luck,
Thanks.
Doug.
Yeah, good luck, Doug. It's right. Like in the coal mine or something.